guys, what's up? It's John, Educated Arms. Today is Tuesday, May 25th, and we have got our final video updating you guys on Texas constitutional carry. Just basically gonna recap a couple of things, clear up a couple of questions and points from our previous videos, and then also we're going to dive in and sum up the Texas 2A Sanctuary Act, which has also passed the House and the Senate and all its committees, and that one's headed to the governor's desk as well. So, without further ado, let's go! Alright guys, thanks for joining us today. Before we dive in, I want to invite you to follow us on both of our social media pages on Facebook and Instagram at Educated Arms, and be sure to subscribe to us on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/educatedarms. Once we get 1,000 subscribers over there, we will give away 1,000 rounds of ammo. Not a bad deal. So, as I said a few minutes ago, today we're going to take a little bit better look at Texas constitutional carry, which is House Bill 1927. Wrap that up for you. And then also we're going to take a look at and sum up Texas House Bill 2622, which is your 2A Sanctuary Act. So, constitutional carry, where are we at? It's passed the Senate, it's passed the House, it's passed committee, and it has been certified and voted on in the House and the Senate once again, and it is on its way to the governor's desk. So a couple of points, we went over some of the updates from the committee in our last video, and I wanted to make a couple of points on it. One is the signage. So we've dove through the bill a little bit further and looked at the absolute final version of the bill. We had one of the senator's office and their chief of staff get us over a copy of it. And so in that final version of the bill on the signage, there is going to be an amendment to 30.05. So again, if you've got your Texas license to carry now, you know 30.06 and 30.07 signs prohibit concealed carry and openly carry. There is now going to be a new sign, 30.05 sign, which is a no trespassing sign. Essentially, what the 30.05 sign is going to have very, very similar verbiage to 30.06 and 30.07, except it is basically just going to state that firearms are not permissible on these premises. Now, how does that apply to you if you have your Texas license to carry? Well, if you have your Texas license to carry, this is not necessarily a sign that you can just ignore, but in the legislation, essentially it states that if you have your Texas license to carry and you do get in trouble for being somewhere that has a 30.05 sign, assuming that it doesn't have a 30.06 and a 30.07 sign, that your Texas license to carry is a defense to prosecution. So, the way that they're going to market this is essentially if a business wants to prohibit basically everybody from carrying a gun there, they're going to put up a 30.05 sign. Again, it doesn't state that you can go in there with your concealed or openly carried handgun with your license to carry and that you can't get in trouble. It just states that it's a defense of prosecution should you get in trouble. So that's an important note to make on there for you guys. The other thing that we didn't touch on in the previous video that did survive the amendments is Texas Department of Public Safety. So basically the state troopers, those are the guys that oversee our license to carry regulations now. Those guys are also going to be responsible for creating an online sort of class that will kind of go over some of this stuff, presumably. It's very kind of vague in the language as far as what they have to go over in it and what they have to include in it, but they are going to put together some sort of a class that will kind of brush up, hopefully, everybody on laws and some other of the basic stuff. So that's it on constitutional carry, guys. That's a wrap. It is headed to the governor's desk. I imagine he's going to make a big shebang out of this and sign the silencer law, the 2A Sanctuary Act, and this Constitutional Carry Act all at the same time and make it a big 2A shebang. Alright guys, so let's take a better look at the 2A Sanctuary Act here in Texas. This is House Bill 2622. So, Cliff Notes version on this, because I want to keep this video as short and sweet as possible, is essentially this bill prohibits primarily Texas law enforcement from aiding any federal agency or federal official in enforcing basically future gun control laws. Now, it's basically any gun control law that is signed into effect after January 19th of this year. So basically, as soon as Joe Biden was inaugurated as president, any gun control law or executive order that occurred after that point in time, what this law does is it basically prohibits Texas law enforcement from helping these guys enforce these laws. It obviously doesn't null and void federal law. The states don't have the ability to do that, but they can prohibit federal officials or prohibit Texas law enforcement officials from aiding the feds in doing this. And so this bill kind of spells that out. I've got some notes here, but essentially it's going to restrict them, our Texas LEOs, from basically the following: from doing any sort of prohibition or restriction or other regulation that doesn't exist under Texas law. Essentially what that means is all of Texas's laws on, if there's any gun laws or gun control laws that are in Texas, it doesn't apply to those. It's just going to apply to the federal ones. But essentially directly related to regulations revolving around, like, if you've got to register your firearms, if you've got to create any sort of a license to purchase firearms or ammo, like there is in California. Also applies to the requirement, like, so if the feds come in and state, there's a federal law, whether it's an executive order or otherwise, that states that private party sales do have to have a background check. This new Texas law essentially says that in Texas LEOs are not going to help the feds enforce that law. It also states that if the feds try to put together any sort of a gun confiscation or a gun registry or a gun forced buyback program, or any of those things, that Texas law enforcement officers are not going to aid federal officials in any capacity in any of this. So again, it's a huge step in the right direction. Obviously, the federal government can't do a lot of things without local law enforcement assistance, and this is across the board on a whole bunch of different things. And so when you have these laws that come into effect like this one, this 2A sanctuary bill, the feds not having local support, local boots on the ground, really neuters them to being able to enforce these future laws. So that's it in the Cliff Notes section, guys. Again, this will kick into effect September 1st. It didn't get the 2/3 majority needed to make it kick in immediately, but it does retroactively go back to January 19th of 2021. So that part is covered. But that's it, guys. Again, no requirements that private party sales will have to have background checks, no gun confiscation, no gun registry, no forced gun buybacks, any of that stuff. Essentially, if you can legally own a gun as of January 19th, 2021, any new future federal regulations are not going to apply to you. So that's it on the 2A Sanctuary Act, guys. Again, thank you so much for watching this video. We really appreciate it. We hope that you'll give us a follow on all the socials at Educated Arms. And again, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for all of our future videos. Thanks, guys. Stay safe.